Hi, welcome to SBRtv. I'm Peter Loshak. This is our preview of UFC 143. As always, we are joined by Nick Kalikas, sitting right next to me, oddsmaker, MMA oddsmaker, and consultant for DSI Sportsbook. Right, Nick? Thanks for being here once again. And our guest this week is an interesting guy. Nick has been bringing these guests, and each week they get better and better. This week we have a guy named LayzieTheSavage, and his website is middleeasy.com. And apparently he's best friends with with Nick Diaz, LayzieTheSavage. So he's
L-A-Y-Z-I-E.
L-A-Y-Z-I-E. That's right, Lazy, right. And the Savage. So he's a vicious guy, but he lacks a little bit of ambition in his viciousness. Lazy, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. How you guys doing?
All right. Before we start, tell us a little bit about middleeasy.com and who you are and what you do for them.
Just a website that's outside the box, man. We like to have a little fun. You know, if you're the type of person that likes to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning to watch those fights over in Japan, you're probably a Middle Easy reader. I'm not a journalist. I'm not an Ariel Helwani. I'm not a Karen Bryant. I respect those people both. But, you know, we're just trying to be something different, you know. So, yeah, I like to have contests against these fighters, played some video games against King Mo, had a swim race against Nick Diaz, grappled against Ronda Rousey, got my ass kicked against James Krause.
Okay.
You know, so just some behind the scenes type stuff, you know, have some fun.
All right, and from a gambling perspective, do you consider yourself positive EV when handicapping and analyzing MMA betting lines?
Oh, God, man. You know, I've been watching this sport for so long, but I swear I'm like the cooler. I'm like the jinx.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'd say I know my stuff.
All right. Okay, well, let's see what you have to say. But I guess let's just start off with Condit Nick Diaz, right? Main event, it's basically sets up for a fight with George St. Pierre, right? And Nick Diaz is a -170 favorite. And just looking at this, they're both obviously great strikers. But Diaz seems to have like a slight edge in all areas. It has that feel where it's his fight to lose, right? So I'm looking at that thinking, you know, maybe 170 in light of that is a little bit too low. Maybe it's a little bit too big. Let's start with Nick. Where'd you open this line?
It was close to a pick 'em, actually.
Right.
And the
Okay.
public
Really?
bet up. Yeah, they bet Diaz up.
Okay.
Now, he's been on a roll, you know. He's one of the most well-rounded fighters out there, as you just said, too. And this is well-deserved. He's finally getting the recognition he deserves, and he's finally in the spotlight and getting the respect he deserves, too. So I opened it a pick 'em because I believe it is a toss-up fight.
Really?
Yeah, I think that he doesn't have the advantages he has over a lot of people he might not have against Carlos Condit in this case. And I would favor Carlos Condit's wrestling a little bit above Diaz's. So if this goes to the cards, I think Condit might sneak away with the decision. I'm sure that Lazy over there is going to argue with me on this one, but it's going to be a toss-up fight.
Yes, Lazy. You know, according to what Nick's saying here, it should be a competitive fight, but that at the current odds, Carlos Condit is the bet. Do you agree with that?
No. No, bet the life savings on Nick Diaz for this fight. You know, Nick just brought in Joe Schilling, who's a killer Muay Thai kickboxer, and I think they're going to be prepared for everything Carlos Condit has to offer, and no one wants to go to the ground with Nick Diaz. You know, -170, that's decent. I would take that right now because I think by fight time we're looking at 2.5 to 1 favorite for Nick.
Really? You think the public is going to come in that strong on Diaz?
Yeah, I think once these open workouts come in and people see how hungry Nick is and you know, see what good a shape he's in, and especially after these primetime shows have been airing, he's just looking like more and more of a beast. I expect that line to go up.
Nick, what do you think? Do you think he's going to get bet up possibly that higher, over
could.
200?
I mean, like I said, now he's getting the hype he finally deserves. And let me say, hype a lot of times is overinflated, but on Diaz it's not. I mean, he deserves it. But the like I said, the wrestling is my main concern here because I think Condit, if he does take it to the ground, though, he's got to be careful because that's the way Diaz can end it. Condit has a tremendous BJJ as well. He's subbed a lot of guys, but you don't want to tangle with Diaz too much on the floor. So if I was Condit, I came up with a game plan to maybe possibly try to get the takedowns, but then be cautious on the ground and get back up, just to maybe win a couple rounds that way, because I think they're going to be tight on the feet. Diaz has a in-your-face style. He always brings it. But technically, I think that Carlos Condit might be a little bit more sound. But, man, Diaz, if I had to pick toughness, I would pick Diaz over Condit, though, there. If I'm wrong here, I'm going to be happy. I think Carlos Condit is going to – he's not going to be able to stop Diaz, so I think he wins a decision here.
Right.
I think if Diaz wins, he can win by stoppage or a close decision as well. But if I'm wrong, I'm going to be happy because I think Diaz does deserve that respect.
All
like
right.
I said.
Well,
remember, this
LayzieTheSavage
is going 5 rounds. Just remember that. And Nick's a killer when it goes into the late rounds. I don't think Carlos will even make it out of the third. You know, BJ Penn didn't even want to get off the stool in the 2nd round. So
Look at that.
No, that's true, but BJ Penn, and you can't compare Carlos Condit cardio-wise to BJ Penn. I think that Condit's probably going to be there in the 3rd round. Unless he gets caught early, he'll be there. I mean, BJ Penn has been known to fade in fights, and Carlos Condit won't. He'll be there. He can go 5 rounds. I'm confident that both of these guys will go 5 rounds. So it's a different matchup there.
Wow, this is good. Nick thinks it should be Pick'em, and LayzieTheSavage thinks it should be Diaz minus 250. For full disclosure, I mean, Lazy, you are an extreme Nick Diaz homer here, right?
You know, I recognize talent, I think, is what it is. And I've just recognized his talent since day one. You know, and I think those Cesar Gracie guys are well trained, and they have the right preparation, you know, to go to battle. They're not funny, let's have a good time, you know, before the fights, and I appreciate that. And no one has a harder work ethic than those guys. I've seen it in person, so I know. I've traveled to other gyms. I know how other fighters train, and I know how these guys train.
All right.
So
just for Lazy off the record, though, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Diaz wins because he's been one of my favorite fighters for a long time. Not just because Lazy's here, because you got to respect the way the guy fights.
Yeah.
He's tough. He brings it all the time, you know. So if I'm wrong here, but my money is going to go on Condit. Straight up, I'm just being honest because the value's there. I think it's a pick 'em fight.
Well, that doesn't have to be off the record. You can say that on the record, right?
My money is.
I ain't mad at you for that at all. You know, I understand why people. You know, I think, to be honest, I think Condit's more of a threat than George is, dude. I honestly think Nick is gonna walk through George. I mean, walk through him, and I think he might even tool him a little bit in the ring just to have some fun. You know, because Nick's been chomping at the bit for years, knowing that he could beat George, but knowing he wouldn't get the shot. You know, being over in Strikeforce and, you know, battling that competition. But skill-wise, he knew he had what it took to beat George.
All right, so maybe that's the answer. Bet Nick Diaz before it goes even higher, and then if you want, hedge it out with a little prop on Condit, you know, in case worst-case scenario, some disastrous thing happens. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.